actually is now.
Huh?
It's on now.
It's on now.
Sweet.
Are you ready?
No, but I'm never going to be ready.
Okay. Is there people talking? Yes, good. All
Always
right.
talking.
Good evening, everyone. Can I have your attention, please? Slowly away from the device.
Yeah, sure.
No.
That's nice.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and the Honourable David Pisoni, Minister for Innovation and Skills. Thank you for all coming tonight to the 2021 Student Exhibition and the 50th birthday of the Product and Industrial Design course in Adelaide. My name is Steph Small, and this is Lachlan McElroy. We are MCs for tonight. Oh, yes. Firstly, I'd like to begin tonight by acknowledging UniSA's respect for the Kaurna, Boyandike and Bargalana people's spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the diversity of Aboriginal peoples, past and present.
We would now also like to thank our sponsors for tonight, UniSA Creative and Innovact for their generous donations, the ADN and the DIA and Catago Cagile for their support and awards. Lastly, I would like to thank Workspace for their donations and Stone and Chalk for this wonderful venue and for their ongoing support throughout this event. Now I'd like to introduce Professor Joanne Seiss, Executive Dean of UniSA Creative, to introduce the night.
Well, thank you for that introduction. Welcome, everybody. I too acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the lands and waters of the Adelaide region. Pay respect to elders past, present and future. I also acknowledge and respect the Kaurna people's ongoing connection to their land, waters and community, and acknowledge other First Nations people who are present here this evening. I also add my welcome to the Minister for Innovation and Skills, the Honourable David Pisoni. Thank you for joining us, Minister. It is an absolute pleasure to be here at UniSA's 2021 Product Design and Industrial Design Student Exhibition. It's always terrific to attend events at Stone and Chalk, and it's terrific that this is 2 years running that we've been able to host the event here. It's not actually 2 years because, as Dan McLean reminded me, the 2020 exhibition was actually at the beginning of 2021, but we all know why that was. Really importantly, 2021 marks 50 years of product and industrial design education in South Australia, half a century. It's a significant milestone for the UniSA program and the professional practice of product and industrial design in South Australia and beyond, in Australia and the world. The product design program is one of UniSA's heritage programs, being first offered as a Diploma of Design Product Design in 1971. Hi Murray, how are you? 1971, Murray remembers this probably, at the UniSA's antecedent institution, the South Australian School of Art. The program has evolved to become the undergraduate product design, Bachelor of Product Design, and the postgraduate industrial design programs that we have at UniSA today. UniSA Creative, which is the faculty within which these programs reside, is amongst the most comprehensive of all creative disciplines at any university in Australia at the current time. We offer undergraduate, postgraduate and higher degrees by research in 4 broad areas of screen, communication, creative and cultural studies, and of course, design. We're the only Australian university, South Australian university, if only, the only South Australian university to offer a number of design programs, which do include the product and industrial design programs. So these programs are importantly unique in South Australia, and it is strategically important for UniSA and the state to ensure that SA has the local capability to design and hopefully continue to manufacture products, but not just products, services and systems as well. We're very proud of the quality lineage of designers and design work and many designers have learnt their skills and developed their expertise at UniSA and its antecedent South Australian School of Art and South Australian College of Advanced Education over the last half-century. But importantly tonight, now to the future and our soon-to-be graduates. The future is positive for the program as product and industrial design continues to evolve from what has been in the past perhaps more of a hardware and mass production focus by expanding into both physical and, importantly, virtual products, user experience, user interaction, and of course the shifts occurring with Industry 4.0. The work you see exhibited tonight is from final year undergraduate product design students and postgraduate industrial design specialisation students in the Graduate Diploma of Design and the Master of Design. The work demonstrates how product designers can turn everyday activity into enjoyable, safe, healthy and beneficial experiences. I'll pick out a few examples, and I have happily had a chance this time round to look at the work before I talk about it. So the third year students have designed new types of battery-powered domestic kitchen rotary tools, which sounds wonderful. The Future Bus Interior project in conjunction with local manufacturer Bus Tech, where students are developing ways to improve and make public mobility not only more comfortable and desirable, but also a more sustainable experience. And there's a really great project towards the bar area, which focuses on the importance of design for wellbeing. And that's evident in that project, which is a postgraduate project where a music therapy chair has been designed for people with dementia. So I congratulate all our students and thank the program team led by Program Director Dan McLean and including Andrew Whittaker, Anna Brown, Tom Deloso, Martin Freeney, Peter Schumacher and the very excellent team of casual staff who provide their expertise to the program. I also want to thank in advance our newest staff member, Fenke Pang, who's only joined us in the last few days, Associate Professor Peng, and thank her for the work she will be doing with future cohorts of graduating students. So welcome, Fenke. I also acknowledge and thank the UniSA's amazing team of technical and professional staff whose support of the program and also events like this are so important. So congratulations to all, and especially now to our next cohort, our future product and industrial designers. UniSA is so very proud of you. We wish you good luck, and please keep in touch and keep us updated of what you do next. Thank you and enjoy the exhibition.
Thank you, Professor Seiss, and thank you for speaking tonight. We'd now like to invite Ms. Anna Brown to the stage to present the Design Institute of Australia Career Link Award.
Thanks, Lockie. I would like to present the DIA Award Bit Overcome. This is actually the first year group of product design students that I have taught in every level, and I cannot express how proud I am of all of you. But tonight I would like to present the DIA Award to Henry Shaw. So I wanted to wait until Henry actually was up here to be able to say a few things about his last 3 years. Henry came to us as a really quiet and shy young fella, straight from school, and has been utterly committed to learning in every course that he has done over the entire length of the undergraduate program. It has been, for all of us, I think I speak for all of us when I say it's been an incredible pleasure to see you grow, not only as a person but as a designer, and we can see great things happening for you. So congratulations, Henry.
Thanks, Anna, and congratulations to Henry. I would now like to invite Mr. John Brooks to present the Adelaide Design Network Award for Professional Practice and Collaboration in Product Design.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming along tonight. Dan has asked me to reflect a little on my career as a designer. I graduated, I don't want to say it, but 36 years ago from South Australian College of Advanced Education down at Torrens. So my journey in design started 40 years ago. I was almost not admitted into the course because my drawing wasn't up to scratch. But with a little practice and training, I now sell my drawings online and as a bit of a hobby on the side. So there's always a bit of a sideline to what you learn along the way. I started with drafting boards and lead pencils, and they've now been replaced by not only 2D CAD but 3D CAD. We were doing hand-drawn Canson renderings with markers and white pencil, and if anybody knows it, the BFS, called the Brian Fitzpatrick Sparkle, which is the little starry shine you put on the corner to make your drawings come alive. Brian Fitzpatrick was, by the way, an automotive designer who I worked with, who'd come over from America. Do you know, you might know Brian, Murray, no? We made our models and prototypes by hand in the workshop with Peter and Gavin, learning how to use mills and lathes and sanders and spray booths and all sorts. And now we 3D print them. We CNC them. We started with fax machines that are now replaced with emails. I remember we didn't even have a fax machine. A client sent us a fax one day, which was delivered to us by post. He sent it to the post office. The post office posted it to us, and I had to pay $10. This is back in 87 or 88. $10 to go to the post office to send a return fax. Boy, because I didn't want to look like we didn't have a fax in the office, so we faked it. We had landlines that were wired to the wall, and now we all walk around with a mobile. We had boardroom meetings, and now we can do a Zoom meeting on our phone. We had timed interstate and international calls on the phone bills accounts, and now you can just do free video calls from around the world. The world has really changed. Technology has changed the way we work. We even built tooling with mills and lathes and hand files in the workshop so we can injection mould plastics, and now we're 3D printing metals and polymers and even ceramics that are not just for prototypes and models, they're for production parts. The world is seriously changing around us. I can't imagine what you guys are going to go through in your careers as you go through your next 40 years. But two things haven't changed, and that is the need for good design. When I started, most of my clients couldn't spell design. I had to go out and sell design first, the value of design, before I tried to sell them the services that we could actually do for the design. But now most clients that you come across are aware of design. The word has got out there. People value it. They budget for it. That's a whole new thing. And the second thing is the need for creative, talented people like yourselves to go out and service that need for industry. And I congratulate everybody here on working their way through their course, getting to where they have done, but your journey has just begun. Our state is pouring financial support into building a culture of innovation, and thank you to Minister Pisoni we're building a culture of entrepreneurship here in South Australia that is going to feed our manufacturing and industry into the future. But design is an integral part of that. Without good design, those innovators and entrepreneurs are going to struggle to compete on a world market. So it's really imperative that we have qualified, talented, and we maintain and we keep that talent here in the state. So it's really valuable to maintain this course here, and I thank Minister Sony for supporting ADN in our goal to bring the community together and to help support the design industry to support the overall culture and direction for South Australia. Tonight is the third time that ADN has supported this event. It marks our second year of operation, and we happen to pick two pretty tough years to start an organisation in, and we have met most of our milestones that we set out to achieve. The one we haven't met is to find a major client where we can offer an integrated service to them, but we are working hard at meeting that milestone and achieving that goal. There are opportunities out there, but under certain sort of financial situation at the moment, it's hard to find those major investments around. But you know, we're working hard at that, and we look forward to sort of landing that first project for everybody soon. So tonight I have the pleasure of awarding the ADN Award for Professional Practice and Collaboration in Design to Victoria Acero, if I pronounced that right. I believe Victoria is our first Argentinian student. Welcome to Adelaide. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And thanks very much for coming along, and look forward to the night. Thanks.
Thank you, John, and congratulations to Victoria. And now I'd like to invite to the stage our most illustrious leader, Mr. Dan McLean, Director for the Product Design Program, to introduce the Catago Cagile Award and talk about the 50 years of the Product Design Program in South Australia.
Thank you, Lachlan, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. Minister Pisoni, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and thank you also to UniSA Creative Executive Dean Joe Seiss, who's just had to leave for another appointment. Before I say a few words and talk about some of my experiences in the program, I wanted to invite Ian Pendergrast to the stage to say a few words. Ian is part of Innovact Consulting, who I'm sure he'll tell us all about in just a moment, but he's also been tremendously generous this year with sponsorship of this event. So Ian, come up and say a few words. And,
Good evening, everybody. Hear me all right? Yep. Thanks, Dan. It's an honour to support the graduates this year. Xu Yu from the Exhibition Committee contacted our 1980 UniSA design group to inform us of this significant anniversary year, being the half-ton. Needless to say, I was very keen to take the opportunity to help celebrate the occasion, having graduated back in 1987 when the campus was located at Underdale. Expanding on what John was talking about before, you've basically said everything about the way everything's progressed, but I'd say one of the indications of the digital technology advancing back then was how everybody was swarming around the Apple Macs like bees to a honeypot to use Ready, Set, Go. And we've talked about that in our group, our 80s group, and that's just one of the things that we've reminisced about. And with typesetting, everything was black and white. So what we used to do was, when we did our presentations like you had here, we used to use an iron and this a transfer, and we'd transfer the colour onto the photocopy. So that's how basic things were back then. But anyway, Innovat Consulting is a design and engineering company based in Hindmarsh. Our team are product development and engineering simulation specialists with over 30 years of R&D experience in Australia, the UK and South Africa. We also have a range of products and equipment we've manufactured. We do manufacture for transport, mining and lifting gear. I wish all the graduates success in their future careers, and I can see by the quality of work tonight that they'll do very well. So let's give them a round of applause for the work well done. Okay, thank you. Right, have we got an award to present or a bit later? No worries. Okay, thanks everybody. I will.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Ian. I mean, one of the things we really appreciate in the program are, whether it's alumni or organisations like the Design Institute of Australia or the Adelaide Design Network getting involved with the program, because one of the things we really try to do is expose the students to that product design industry, and without those organisations and people like yourself, Ian, it doesn't work, and we can't do that. So the community has to come together in a small city like Adelaide to make it work. So I've got a few things on my agenda here, and one of them is going to be some awards that will get you back up for, Ian. But I wanted to just reflect a little bit tonight, because what really brought this to this 50-year anniversary of the program, what really brought it up was I've had to complete a program reaccreditation this year, which is a really, Joe's gone now, so I can be honest about it, a fantastic exercise that program directors have to do at the university. But it actually was really quite beneficial, because as part of that, I had to do a fair bit of research into where the program's been and where it's going to go. And as part of that, I was going through one late Sunday night the UniSA library archives and found a lot of the prospectus from the South Australian School of Art and other institutions that have now become UniSA. And one of them was the 1971 prospectus from the South Australian School of Art, which was the first year that the Diploma in Design, Product Design, was offered. So hence the 50-year anniversary. That diploma subsequently has become the Bachelor of Design, Product Design, and the Master of Design, Industrial Design programs that you see on display tonight. So 50 years, I think that's a pretty significant amount of time for a program to be running anywhere. It's had a few rebrands and a few name changes, and our next guest will tell us about some of that in more detail. But we'll hold off on talking about that at this point. So what it also did for me was made me think about how long I've been involved in this institution. And it's well over half of my life now that I've been involved in UniSA in some way. And that started firstly as a pretty naive 17-year-old when I arrived at Underdale for orientation week in the mid-90s. I wasn't even old enough to go and enjoy the cheap beer in the uni bar that existed in the middle of that wonderful campus. We were one of the first cohorts that ended up moving to our lovely new home for the programs at the City West campus. But we were kind of spread between Underdale and City West. So I'm hearing stories of workshops. I'm hearing from John, from Ian, and I'll share the same stories. We had the same thing, and we had those same two people helping us with the workshop stuff. I finished my program and then went overseas to work for a couple of years and returned to Australia And as I think a lot of alumni from the program do, headed back in to see what was happening at UniSA, and went in to visit Peter Schumacher, who many of you know. Peter's at the back, I think, tonight, and the program director at the time, Richard Coker. Richard walked me into a lecture he was about to give. He was running about 30 minutes late. Took me to the front of the lecture theatre where there were 70 first-year students eagerly awaiting Richard's lecture. It was a drawing lecture, an ID sketching lecture. Richard said to the crowd, Dan, you know how to sketch. Why don't you give him a demo? And then proceeded to walk off. I've been teaching that ID sketching course now for about 19 years straight. That was the style of the time. But so this past September was my 19th anniversary of teaching every semester in whether it was the Bachelor of Design Industrial Design program or now Bachelor of Design Product Design program. Time flies when you're having fun. Well, I think what it does indicate, and from the stories you've heard tonight from the speakers, and for those of you coming along tomorrow night, you'll hear more of these stories, but there's a unique culture that's part of this kind of club that exists as part of the industrial design or product design program. If you've done it, you know about it, and you tend to stay in touch with everyone, and that's how Shu Yun found the Facebook group that's talking about 80s industrial design at Underdale. And amazing that almost 40 years ago, and there's so many people that are still in touch, and that's your network. 100, that's amazing, yeah. And back in those days, it probably would have been about 10 or 15 people that were graduating each year as well, so amazing. And I think about some of the names that have been involved, because the staff are one of the things I think that bring this network together, whether it's, I remember we remember many of the staff that we're involved with, and then I hear names, and I've through my research as well, there's people like Heinz Lutringhaus, who I've never had the pleasure of meeting, but I'm seeing a few giggles already in the crowd. Phil Chaplin, I've heard about him. I've never had the chance to meet Phil Chaplin. Chris Myers was my first year studio lecturer when he was in the studio. Dieter Diani, never had the pleasure of meeting him. The program director when I was in first year was a person many of us in the room know, Sandy Walker, who might be watching on the live stream from Scotland at the moment. Gerhard Schurer, Richard Coker, Esther Ratner, and two of our favourite people who has been mentioned by the previous two speakers, which goes to say how notorious they were, Pete and Gav from the workshop, who were incredible if you stayed on the right side of them in terms of getting those prototypes. That this legacy of prototyping that this program has, that you see tonight on display, I think that was a lot to do with Peter and Gavin and the pride that this program takes in producing working prototypes. And that's one of the distinguishing things between what we do and many of the other institutions around the place. I'm pretty proud to be program director of this heritage program, as Joe said. There's been a long line of people that have steered the direction of the program, and I'm sometimes questioning what I'm doing. Like last night at midnight, I was replying to a grumpy mother of a student who's unhappy with the grade that person received. But then, on the flip side, I get to walk into this amazing event tonight and see the amazing work that our terrific students have done with the coaching of the incredible team of students that I get, team of staff that I get to work with, and that makes it all better. Makes those grumpy emails go away. So, Joe mentioned it, the work on display tonight is, and for those of you who don't know, this is important, it was a 4-year industrial design program, and our next speaker will talk a little bit more about that. But now we have 2 programs that are on show tonight, and one of which is the undergraduate 3-year Bachelor of Design Product Design program, and that's all the work in the front half of the room. And that's a foundational product design program. The work in the back half of the room is our postgraduate Master of Design program, where the students are paired up with clients and really collaborating with real-life clients to create amazing working solutions. Just want to say a few things to the current students and the students who are about to finish. one of the things I think you need to keep in mind, or if you're not keeping this in mind, please do keep it in mind, is really want everyone to take advantage of the institution that you're at and the heritage that it's got and the network that it has. And also take advantage of the fact that we're in Adelaide, and that's actually a good thing. It's a really amazing thing. We have a really easy lifestyle which gives you so much time to hone your skills so that you can compete with those people overseas who've not had it or don't have it as easy as we do from a point of view, and don't have the amazing facilities that we have at UniSA and the amazing staff who are so engaged and want to help you succeed. So take advantage of that network and the environment. For those who are about to leave UniSA, wish you luck. But I do hope that you stay in touch. And I think John and Ian tonight are great examples of that alumni network from this program. And it does mean a lot to come back and share your knowledge and help the students, the current students, move forward with their new careers. Don't have to do what I did, accidentally give a drawing lecture, and 19 years later you're still here. Right, just want to say a couple of thank yous from my side of things, and the first one I want to say is a big thank you to the academic team that I get to work with every day. And you've heard from Anna Brown tonight, but thank you to Anna, to Tom DeLoso, Martin Franey, who I can see back there, Peter Schumacher, and a big thank you to Andrew Whitaker. And Andrew is really responsible for the postgraduate work that you see in the back half of the room. So now for some awards. The first award is going to be presented by our partner Catago Cagile, and so I'd like to invite Tina Marie Bowen and Zach Allen to the stage, because Zach Allen was the recipient of this award, I keep saying last year, but it was in February when we had our postponed show. And Zach was the recipient of that Catago Cagile Award, which was for outstanding design practice. And I think, Zach, you're going to, 3 years in a row now, you thought you'd get away from saying anything at this exhibition, but you've got it again. So, yeah. Come on up, Zach. Cool.
Thanks, Dan. So I've just been asked prior to this award being given out just to talk about my experience getting the award and what that's led to for me. So yeah, at the start of the year, I won the award from Catago. That was for a placement and internship at Catago Cagile for an undetermined period of time. Happy to say that the internship didn't last very long, but the full-time employment or part-time employment has lasted a lot longer. I've been at Catago Cagile for 7-8 months now, I'm not quite sure, and it hasn't been what I expected, but in a good way. I was very nervous going into working at Catago Cagile. For myself personally, I never saw myself as someone working in the manufacturing industry. I saw myself more into human-centered design and product styling. So I was very nervous going into working at Catago Cagile, but I'm happy to say that any sort of fears that I had were put to rest when I got into the environment that I'd be working in, which was incredibly welcoming. Gav and Tina Marie made me feel incredibly welcome and just comfortable, tried to make me as comfortable as possible. I think they might have seen how nervous I was on my first day. And even just the staff there, I worked closely with Seth and Liam Brady, who are also graduates of this degree. And instead of making me, or not intentionally feeling bad if I fail something, they treated every fail as a lesson. And slowly, over the course of the months, I stopped feeling afraid to fail and afraid of every new task that came my way, but instead was ready to give it my best shot, because I knew that the people I worked with weren't going to have a go at me or shun me or get angry at me for failing, but would be there to help make sure that I don't fail again. Whilst working at Catago Cagile, I haven't just done manufacturing stuff. That's primarily a lot of the work that we do there, but I've done so much more than that. I've had my chance at product styling for big groups in South Australia. Currently, I'm working on instruction manuals for another client, so I get my graphic design fix that I really enjoy doing. I've done plastic components and structural engineering to markups for drawings for companies like SA Water. So it's never a boring day working at Cadgile. There's always something different, something new. So yeah, I just like to say a big thank you to Gav and Tina Marie for making me feel welcome. And yeah, it's just been a really awesome place to work. Thank you to Dan for putting me up for the award in the first place. It's been a pretty good year. Cool.
So, I might pass that to you, Maurice. And so, I'll announce the winner of the award. This year, the Cadgile Award for Outstanding Design Performance goes to Shu Yun Lam. So thank you to Cadgile for, again, sponsoring that award. The next one is one that we do annually, which is the Program Director Award for one of our high-achieving students in either the Bachelor of Design Product Design program or in the postgraduate program, the Industrial Design program. So I'd like to invite Minister Pisoni forward to present the award, and I'll just read out who it is before we flash that to the audience. So the other thing we do with the Program Director Award is this student will become the nominee from UniSA for the Design Institute of Australia's National Graduate of the Year Award, which will be running in 2022. So you get two for the price of one with this one. Now, the recipient of this year's award has displayed consistent outstanding performance since joining the program after having a career and deciding that it was time to go and try something else. So I would like to award the Program Director's Award for 2021 to Declan Walker. Declan, would you like to say anything? I don't have to, but I'll open the opportunity for you, if you like.
I don't know what to say. This is massively unexpected. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was an electrician for about 10 years before this, and felt like a bit of a change of scenery for something that was more aligned to a passion of mine. And yeah, I kind of threw myself into it, so this is really appreciated. And I don't really know what to say. I'm pretty blown away, to be honest. Yeah, it's been a really great 3 years. I've learned so much. It's been amazing starting when I was 32 when I started. So, if anyone's thinking about a change of career, it's never too late. And it's been great. Heaps of fun. I don't know what to say. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks, Declan, and thank you, Minister Pisoni, for presenting that award. So, last certificate that I'd like to present tonight before handing over to our special guest speaker This is a certificate of recognition, and I'd like to invite Ian to present this one. So if you could face it that way, Ian, and guard that one. So this certificate of recognition is to a student who has been very special to the program since she joined the program 4 years ago. She displays the traits of a great designer by being hardworking, by being curious, by being engaged with the university community, but also the design community locally, and has almost, I would say, single-handedly driven this year's exhibition as well. If those of you who were here in February will remember this person with the clean sweep of awards that she got at that exhibition. But without Shu Yun's hard work and perseverance, I don't know if the exhibition would be as successful as it has been. And even last night we were messaging each other at 1:30, working out the finer details for how this was all going to unfold tonight. So I know you're ready for an early night after the last 2 weeks. And I would like just to say thank you to all of the exhibition committee for the hard work that's been done to put this together, but especially Shu Yun for this year. You've been amazing by completing your own work and pulling this all together. And I know we've tried to keep you around for another year or convince you with a PhD or something like this, but you're hungry to start working and get out there. So without further ado, I'd like to ask Ian to present this certificate of recognition to you. So, thank you, Ian, for that. This is enough for me. Now, I'd like to introduce our last speaker of the night, our special guest speaker. And when we were thinking about the 50-year anniversary of the program and who would be a great person who's probably been involved with the various institutions and the product design program, industrial design program over the years, only one person could talk about this, and that is Ron Corso. I'd like to invite Ron to the lectern.
Thank you, Dan. Yes, he's just revealed how old I am. 50 years ago, my goodness me. Yes, I was there on day one. Industrial design, when it began in the old South Australian School of Art in Stanley Street. It was the Dunstan era, and there was a lot of promotion of the arts, etc. South Australia was sort of coming out of its sleepy state, so to speak. And the introduction of the industrial design diploma, as it was in those days, was really something quite new and quite refreshing. And probably a radical move from the traditional fine arts that the old South Australian School of Art offered. The art school did have courses in advertising, design, etc. So there were moves to try and bring the fine arts out into the sort of more practical arena. Phil Chaplin, whose name has been mentioned, unfortunately Phil's since departed, was a lecturer appointed in 1969. He taught engineering drawing. He was a design draftsman from General Motors Holden. There weren't a lot of industrial designers that you could call upon in those days, so that's where the staff tended to come from. And then in 71, when the course was first offered, the head of department was a chap called Ernie Hall. I don't know if too many people here would remember Ernie. Was rather a flamboyant, eccentric character. And he came from Leeds Polytechnic. He was an engineering background. Had showed us some interesting design work that he had done. He didn't get on with the hierarchy. In fact, he had a running battle over the time that he was here. It was rather interesting in terms of some of the sort of things that went on. But he did establish what I consider to be the true culture of this department. I remember the very first thing he said to us in our first lecture. He said, "You learn design by doing it." He said, "I don't want to see fancy drawings or fancy models. I want you to make prototypes. I want whatever you design, you have to show me that it works. If you can't do that, don't bother coming to see me." And Dan's made mention of that's that culture of prototyping, which I think really distinguishes our program. And the work that Gavin and Peter did set up in that workshop and has now been sort of continued by the excellent staff we have in that workshop. And that is the heart, I think, of the program. That students can go in there and actually make stuff, get the help that they need. And Ernie was really the person who started this. When he first came, I remember he wrote a little manifesto, and I'll find it, Dan. I've got it in my box of stuff somewhere. And a lot of the things that he talked about sort of still ring true today. I think Australia had a culture of borrowing designs, accepting stuff from overseas. We certainly didn't have the culture of design that they had in Europe and the US. But certainly there were prominent people that were trying to make a move to change that, but it was early days. We started off with 8 students. Half of those were international students, kids from Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia. And we were given 2 rooms on the second floor of the art school in Stanley Street with an ammonia plan printer and some drafting tables. And that was what was considered we needed to be able to do industrial design. Well, of course, Ernie had his first run-in with the hierarchy because he said, well, that's not suitable. We need to be able to make things. We need a workshop. So he began to buy equipment, which we set up in various corners and converted storerooms into dark rooms and all sorts of things, which would be totally unacceptable now. And as I said, we had to make prototypes. That was the thing. Whenever we designed something, we had to show that it worked. But we loved it. We absolutely thrived in that environment, you know, being able to do something new and fresh like this, designing. And as I say to my students, all of you that I've taught in the graduating class now, you've got to be passionate about what you do. And if you do that, it'll get you through. Now, we didn't have very much in the way of facilities. So what some of us did, we had to use our initiative. We enrolled in 2 woodworking classes at Thebarton Technical High School, which in those days were free, and we had excellent woodwork teachers. So whenever we needed to make anything out of wood, furniture, etc., off we went to the woodwork class. There was an engineering workshop at Mile End that we had access to. There was a fiberglass outfit down at Brompton Bowden. So we had to be resourceful. Students today might complain about not having all the resources that they would like at their disposal, but back then we had to pretty much do it on our own. Ernie also had this notion of making industry contacts. So he was very active in terms of introducing himself to various industry partners, and we did design work in conjunction with industry partners right from the very early days. We scrounged materials from wherever, lots of offcuts and reject materials. We had links with Simpson Pope back in those days, now Email Electrolux, Hills Industries, the Radiator Pine Association. And there was an interesting story. We had this sort of idea that we would start making furniture out of pine. Now, I can see Anna cringing in the background. Radiator pine is not probably the best material to be making furniture out of, but we were grasping at any opportunity. Anyhow, at one of our exhibitions like this, the Minister for Manufacturing, or whatever it was back in those days, Des Corcoran, came along. And he sat in a pine, radiator pine folding chair that one of the students, Dennis Goh, had designed, and promptly landed on his backside in a Goldilocks fashion. So that certainly was a lesson learned, that you don't make furniture out of radiator pine. The Design Council at the time was a very great supporter and a very strong advocate for design. It sort of doesn't sort of exist in that format anymore. They used to have a wonderful office and studio, come showroom in Rundle Street, and we used to have a lot of our early exhibitions like this were held there. We also, through the Design Council, students were exposed to some terrific international speakers at the time. I thought we were rather fortunate. We had people like Marco Zanuso, Misha Black, Victor Papanek, Edward De Bono, and these were people that we were able to interact with and get lots of inspiration from. Obviously, the 2 rooms at Stanley Street were never going to be adequate, and Ernie advocated, much to the annoyance of senior management, and arranged to move the department to Port Road. Now, I don't know if anyone here is from the Port Road days, probably not. Yes, okay. So that move to Port Road, it was an old television repair complex, and it was fabulous because it had an upstairs workshop with a drive-up ramp where they used to take the TVs to be repaired, and downstairs offices we converted them to studios, lecture theatres, offices, whatever. And that was a great sort of space because Bernie was able to go out and buy lots of second-hand equipment, machinery, etc. I used to go with him to auctions and scrounge whatever we could find. And that really was the birth of the design workshop as we know it now. That workshop is really something else. In the Underdale days, it was absolutely fantastic. And in all my travels all over the world, I've never seen anything in a design studio education complex as good as that. And that certainly is a legacy from Ernie Hall. I mentioned Don Dunstan, just another interesting anecdote that sort of gives a bit of an insight into Ernie. And I'm speaking a bit about Ernie because I was really inspired by the guy. He's pretty much forgotten now. I don't know where he is. The last I heard, he was running a bed and breakfast out on the West Coast, but I haven't been able to track him down. Anyhow, Don Dunstan's son enrolled in the industrial design course, and so this was quite a coup. Don Dunstan's son, great, gets great support, except that Ernie failed him. All right? Now, this didn't go down well with the hierarchy, especially the principal, Gregor Ramsey, at the time. And I can still remember the meetings that they had down at Port Road where there was lots of bartering going on because Ernie had failed Don Dunstan's son, but that's another story. Yeah, well, that's just a little bit of a recollection, from the early days. But, I mean, I've been around this institution now for probably too long. But I must say that I've really enjoyed all my time, and those early days were really quite significant and certainly set in train my love of designing, creativity, and all that goes with it, as I'm sure that all of you that are graduating now will continue to do so. And I've got lots of stories of young kids that have come from all sorts of different backgrounds, out in the country, etc., that have gone on and made fabulous careers within the discipline, just through their passion and love for what they do. So I congratulate you all, and I'm sure you'll all do wonderful things. I'm happy to answer any questions as a point of comparison. Dan, if, as I say, I've seen it all through all the various institutions, Art School, Torrens CAE, Adelaide College of the Arts, UniSA, and whatever else it'll be in the future. I probably won't be here. Oh, yeah, well, that's very kind of you, Dan. As I say, I do love what I do. I love the teaching and I love interacting with young people. And just seeing, creativity in action, it's fabulous. It really is fabulous. Nothing's changed in 50 years, so I suppose that's a positive thing.
Yeah, I think one of the questions I wanted to ask was the point of comparison, Ron, compared to that very first exhibition that you were telling us about.
Yes, yeah.
Compared to what you're seeing tonight.
Well, quite impressive back then. We used to have our exhibitions in the Design Council, and it was a great space. Obviously, there weren't as many students, but the work was of a very good quality. The design thinking behind the work was obviously there, and I think that was always a strong point. And obviously the model making facilities weren't as good, but we managed. And we made furniture, we made products, we made all sorts of things. And I don't have, I might have some old slides somewhere. Slides, my God. But, well, at the time, we were quite impressed by the standard of work. And I think that's always been maintained and improved upon, obviously, over the years. New technologies enable us to do things a lot better, a lot faster, a lot more efficient. But the standard of work was really quite high, was very, very high, yes, and was always well received, always well received. What's changed, obviously, in terms of a design culture, in industry, acceptance of designers? I mean, it was pretty difficult for students who graduated then to get work in those days, you know, because there weren't positions. I mean, you know, no one advertised for an industrial designer back then. What you did is you might get a job doing some drafting or something like that, or you could cajole and work your way around looking for a position that you think you might be able to turn into a design factor, and then you'd have to sort of work at maybe introducing some of that into the organisation. It was a lot more difficult, yeah, it was a lot more difficult. But there weren't as many of us then. And, you know, some of us went into teaching, we did other sorts of things. You don't have to resort to that now because there are more opportunities. Absolutely.
But I did want
Yeah.
to ask you one more thing, and that was, given when you enrolled in the program,
Yes.
and you're just talking about how industrial design wasn't really known at the time.
No, absolutely not.
Why did you choose that? Because
Oh.
I asked the bar students, why did you choose this program?
Well, initially at school, I loved technical drawing. That was a PEB, public exam course that you could do up until leaving, and just loved drawing. I loved art. I loved making things. I mean, you know, in woodwork and metalwork at school, they're the things that I loved doing. You know, I started pulling cars apart, but that's another story. So that was the sort. And when this came up, it was novel, you know, industrial design. I mean, if you told people that you're going to be studying industrial design, they'd say, well, what's that? People just didn't know what it was. But we certainly were attracted to it, and our lecturers were great. I mean, Ernie Hall was a very inspirational person, very radical. He used to just crack us up. I mean, he would be fighting the hierarchy all the time, all the time. I remember one little story when he started buying equipment, you know, we didn't have very much money. So he bought this Black & Decker combination machine. It was a planer, sander, whatever, you know, you've all seen it. And of course it was hopeless because it did lots of things, but none of them very well. So after about 6 months, he thought, no, we've got to get rid of this thing, it's not working very well. So he just went and sold it. He went down to the local auctions and sold it, totally inappropriate, right? And with the money, he went and bought some hand tools. And then about 6 months later, they did an audit, right? And the school manager and some chap with his little board was doing an audit, and they're going through all the gear in the drafting, 10 drafting tables, you know, 10 drafting arms, etc. And a Black & Decker combination machine. Where's that? And so Ernie called his cucumber, sat back and said, well, it's there, it's there, it's there, and it's there, pointing to all the hand tools. And the guy just sort of walked out the room and shook his head. That's what he was like, you know, crazy guy. But we had fun times. We did lots of excursions, you know. He took us up to Whyalla and visited sort of industrial sites, and we went camping, and you know, it was just fun. We built rafts and floated them on the River Murray and almost drowned. It was pretty hectic, but it was fun, yeah. Yeah.
Anyone like to fire any questions at Ron before we wrap up this component?
Oh, probably had enough. No. But it was fun. It was fun, and I have very fond memories of it. And it's good to see that legacy has now continued to what we have today. And I think the current staff can be very proud of what they've continued in their achievements, and certainly the students can be very proud and very privileged to have worked with such good people. I've worked with all these guys, and they are the best, absolutely. And I've had a lot of experience with overseas institutions, and our program here is world class, absolutely world class. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you to all of our speakers for tonight. It's great to hear the long and successful history of this degree. And finally, with that, I'd like to extend, on behalf of the students, our thanks for preparing us so thoroughly, the teaching staff at UniSA, so Dan McLean, Andrew Whitaker, Anna Brown, Tom Deloso, Martin Freeney, Peter Schumacher, and our sessional staff, Katie Kung, Kerry Garvos, Abby V, Harry Culbertson, and Barry Magnesium. Sorry. I needed to practice those more. And also our workshop technicians, Toby, Nick and Shane. Without your dedication, completion of paperwork and advice, we may not have made it this far. I'd also like to thank Shuyun, the President of the Exhibition Committee, for her hard work and her dedication to bring together this event tonight, and thank you to all the students who supported her. That concludes the talking portion of our night. Please enjoy the wine, courtesy of Bowden Cellars, and we'll be bringing out some food thanks to Nutrition Republic shortly, which does accommodate many dietary requirements. So thank you for coming along. Please eat, drink, and have a chat to the students.